Mr. President, thanks very much for being with us. I don't know if you've heard the reports from our reporter on the ground, Matthew Chance, who is traveling along the main road between Gori and Tbilisi, along with a convoy of Russian troop carriers as well. There may either be a tank or an armored personnel carrier, said to be about 30 miles from Tbilisi. What do you know of this, and what are the implications?
Well, the implications are that the Russians are encroaching upon the capital. They are making a circle, and they are rushing, because their plan was always to take over the whole Georgia. Their plan was to establish their own government in Tbilisi, and their plan was to kill our democracy. And they are in the process of cold-blooded murder, and the world seems to just be watching on it, and not doing anything about it. So, when murderer gets away with first step, second step, first step, he'll go to the end. That's exactly what they're doing now.
So what happened, Mr. President, to this ceasefire that was agreed to yesterday?
Well, Russia's never meant any ceasefire. I mean, this is a kind of ceasefire that, I don't know, they had with Afghanistan, I guess, in 1979, or indeed Germany had with Poland in 1939. There is no ceasefire. They are not adhering to any ceasefire. They are moving around. They are rampaging through cities, villages and towns. We have a humanitarian disaster at hand. We have 180,000 internally displaced persons. They are going through villages, killing people, rampaging people, destroying, blowing up houses. They even take out furniture, even steal toilet seats. What I've been hearing, and they've set the camps for men of the sort of this, that were set up in Srebrenica. They bombed the town of Tskhinvali, leveled it exactly like Grozny a few years ago in Chechnya. They are certainly. I mean, if one can name all these big cases of brutality, of Balkan wars, of Afghanistan, their intervention of Prague and Budapest, and then some of the cases of Second World War, you just name all of them fit the description of what's happening right now in my own country.
Mr. President, our last information is that this convoy of Russian troop carriers and an armored personnel carrier or a tank, unclear about that vehicle, continues to head toward Tbilisi. What are Georgian forces prepared to do should they get within proximity of the capital city?
Well, we will protect our capital with till the last drop of our blood. Well, we will never surrender to the Russians. Russians want to put us to the knees, and Russians want to, to give us back, kill the Georgian democracy, bring us into the fold of our dictatorial Russian regime, like it was in the past, in the history. Well, I think I can tell you, yesterday, we are a democracy. We don't have even a small percentage of the tanks and weapons Russia has. However, we had yesterday here in Tbilisi 200,000 people rallying in downtown capital, despite the threats of bombs. We are a democracy. On television, even now when the nation is consolidated, there are critics saying bad things about the government. Parliament is in session. Opposition can speak out. We are not like Russia, where whole media is like one depicting us not as innocent victims, but like as if we perpetrated attack on Russia, as if we invaded somebody. Exactly in the manner of worst cases of past century propaganda. In Georgia, the people are consolidated, and of course they're willing to protect their freedom and their liberty. But you know what? We will not serve. We will never surrender. But frankly, my people feels let down by the West, and I can feel exactly like Czechoslovakia felt in 1938 after Munich deal. It's exactly the same thing after Poland, how Poland felt after Molotov-Ribbentrop and Soviet and German invasion. It's the same thing like Hungarians felt in 1956. It's world is watching on. These days, at least, there are televisions, and the murder of the country is reported live. In those days, there were news were coming late. Now they come instantly, but because of that, they are in a hurry. They want to finish the business very fast.
Mr. President, do you have Georgian forces in place along that main road between Gori and Tbilisi to meet Russian forces should they continue their march toward the city?
Well, I mean, we adhered to ceasefire several days ago. Georgian forces certainly are stationed in and around Tbilisi. But I think once and if they dare to enter the capital, this is a modern European city of 1.5 million people. All of them are determined to stand up for their freedom. All of them have or remember 70 years of communist slavery and mud we were in under Russian occupation in Soviet times. You know, in downtown Tbilisi, we have a museum of Soviet occupation, and children usually go there, and they remember what it's all about when you don't resist this kind of intervention. Of course, we'll stand up for our capital, we'll stand up for our country, and we'll free our country for this absolutely unpardonable occupation.
But do you have the forces to repel this convoy of Russian troops that is headed toward the capital city?
We have, as I said, we have forces, Georgia forces in general are stationed in the outside capital, but you know, this will not be only Georgian troops. This will be all-out resistance, territorial defense, and all-out resistance of population. You know, that's not the, that will be, I mean, okay, the world might watch on. Okay, we count on ourselves, and you know, no matter what, it's. I mean, freedom is worth fighting for. And as I said to my people yesterday, and this gave me this mandate, as I said, told Georgian parliamentarians, and they spoke about it themselves, of all groups, including Georgian opposition, that usually is very outspokenly critical of us. We will not surrender. We shall not surrender, because this is line of freedom, not only for us, by the way, for the rest of Europe, provided, but even if some of them don't really get it.
President Saakashvili, you are a very close ally of the United States. You are a good friend of President Bush. Is this administration, is the White House doing enough to back you up in this crisis?
Well, I just spoke to President Bush. He has the National Security Council meeting about the situation. Well, frankly, some of the first statements from Washington were perceived by the Russians almost as a green light for doing this, because they were too soft. You know, Russians don't understand that kind of soft language. And certainly America needs to act, because everything America has achieved for the Cold War is being undermined and destroyed now. Because everything that, say, happened after '91, when you know, freedom spread, when democracies prevailed, when dictatorship started to shrink, everything is being now folded back and going back. And you know, Georgia is a first test case. It was chosen first because it was a very successful democracy. We had the highest economic growth rate here. We had the freest press. We have free, vibrant civil society. We've been developing very fast despite economic embargoes and pressures and provocations against us. We built a non-corrupt society with functioning rule of law system. So Georgia was targeted first.
Mr. President,
after Georgia, this is the...
Mr. President, forgive me for interrupting you. We have a bulletin from our reporter Matthew Chance on the ground. Apparently, this Russian convoy has turned off of the main road, is no longer headed toward Tbilisi. But let me come back to a point that you just made. You said that the United States needs to do more. What more does this administration need to do? Well,
look, we should realize what's at stake here for America. America is losing the whole region. And this is the region of Central Asia, Caspia, Eastern and Central Europe. This is much bigger than anything else, any other place where there is American influence. And these are closest and the most natural allies of America. And what we have to, what America should do now, first of all, clearly make known their intentions, and we know that they are considering all kinds of different options. Then clearly send peacekeepers on the ground, secure a lifeline, at least for the capital at this stage,